What is up, guys? Zan from the Madden YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to show you guys how to optimize your Mable coverage and shut down those pesky sideline flooding concepts. But before we get into the video, please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys take the time to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads coming your way here on the Zan Madden YouTube channel. If you guys want to take your game to the next level in Madden 21, check out my strategy site, gridirongameplans.gg. Gridiron Game Plans is your one-stop source for all things competitive Madden. Every week in our Vault update, we take a look at the meta, or the most effective tactics available being used by pro players on the MCS circuit, breaking down not only how and why the pros do what they do, but most importantly, how you can counter those metas when you face them in online head-to-head gameplay. On top of that, your subscription also includes any and every offensive and defensive game plan released on the website while your subscription is active. So make sure you guys check it out. $9.95 per month unlocks the entire website. And in my most recent Vault update, I just put out a brand new zone coverage drops and abilities profile. This is the way that I am locking down the field against bunch and trips tight end. I highly encourage you guys to go check it out. There's been a lot of great coverage content on the website, ways to counter the man coverage meta, and also how to establish your own dominant zone coverage meta. Okay, without further ado, let's get into today's video. We're going to be discussing Mable coverage. For those that don't know what Mable coverage is, this is a zone concept that is designed to take away some of those trips or compression style flooding combinations that we have grown to know and love in Madden over the last, honestly, 15 years. Every single year, there's always sideline flooding concepts, particularly from compression style formations, that always have a corner route that gets open. So what Mable coverage does is it puts a low defender, a medium defender, and then a high defender on the sideline, basically saying you could go ahead and try to throw that intermediate quarter route, but we're going to have a medium zone there to guard it. The problem is that with Mable coverage, players have to set their coaching adjustments for their zone depths. And the typical zone profile that players will use is a curl flat at 5 yards to take away the short outside area of the field. And then they're going to play a cloud flat at 25 yards to take away that intermediate sideline. And typically speaking, they're going to run a cover 2 style defense. So we've become accustomed to, like, say, the nickel 3-3-5 Tampa 2. This is a really good example. You might see a coverage that looks like this, where they go ahead and take that blitzing slot corner and they put him into the purple zone at 5 yards, and then you have this blue zone at 25 yards. So this type of coverage combination is pretty popular, but the main issue is that there are routes in the game that tend to beat this. In particular, some of these steeper corner routes can get open over the top of a 25-yard zone. So you see that this is a popular way that players like to essentially flood a Mable coverage, which defeats the purpose of the Mable coverage. You're trying to, set up a sideline zone to take away all 3 levels of routes. You've got this deeper route that's covered by the half defender, which is number 38. You've got this intermediate route that should be covered by your 25-yard cloud flat, but because it gets into a tender area of the field, there's room to fit it. And then you've got this underneath route, which is supposed to pull down any zones, but because you're playing Mable coverage, you've got that shallow sideline zone. So you've got a low, you've got a medium, and then you've got a high zone in Mable. Now, unfortunately, that deep outside area of the field is really, really tender against spread route combinations as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show this to you here. If I were to go and call just a regular gun spread 2x2, the problem is when you set your zone drops, what ends up happening is it negates any chuck animations. And if you don't know what a chuck animation is, that's the little jam animations that you get used to seeing from your corners. Sometimes you'll see purple zones or cloud flats kind of shove the player as they try to get into their route off the line of scrimmage. So the problem with this is that if you have zone adjustments set to take away those flooding combinations, it negates any of the jam animations by these 2 players, basically giving a free release. Now, if you're playing a deep half on this play, you'll notice that it's going to be a really tough get for that deep half defender to prevent us from throwing a sideline ball behind that cloud flat. Because there is no jam, he basically is allowed to run a free streak down the sideline, and that causes a lot of issues, right? So you see right here, Antonio Brown on a fade just runs straight past this guy. Now, if you were playing a standard cover 2, this would be unacceptable. The outside player in a cloud flat is supposed to jam him, release him to the inside, which, makes him have to run his fade may be a little bit closer to the numbers, which makes the job easy on this player to make that break on the ball. But because he's able to get into that area, this creates issues. So let's say that you wanted to set this and you take a look at, that deep outside sideline beyond 25 yards. That's kind of the area that we're struggling, right? Well, you have options. You can get your safety and move him over there, but that's a problem. There's a tell to that. If you manually move him, a lot of players are going to know, oh, hey, that's cover 2, and he's getting that deep half defender all the way out there, so I can't hit the sideline. So that opens up the middle of the field further. Obviously, there's a lot more room now for this guy to have to cover and a lot more room for this guy to have to recover if there's a post on the play. So there's a lot of pre-snap tells to this. What about assignments? If I were to look at the assignments, this safety can only play an inside third, the deep half, which he's already in, the curl flat, which is the purple zone, which we have set to 5 yards, a hook curl, which doesn't do us any good, or the only other deep option is the inside quarter, which is responsible for the inside 25% of the field. So we don't have a whole lot of options to kind of protect the deep sideline when calling a Mable style coverage. Or do we? For those that don't know, there is actually packages in nickel sets. So nickel normal, nickel 335, and this will even work in nickel 335 wide for those of you that love this, that puts a safety at the nickel corner spot. So you see right here in the nickel 335 wide, we have the free safety 1 inside. If you take a look at nickel normal, free safety 1 inside, and then nickel 335, if you flick the stick to the left a few times or to the right, you can get safety nickel back package. These packages change the adjustments that you could put your players in pre-snap. Why is this important? So with the safety nickelback package, if we go back to that initial flooding route combination, for instance, with that steep outside corner that we threw, we ran a route combination that looked just like this. Streak, corner route that beat the middle zone, and a flat. This package right here puts a safety at the nickel corner. Now you can actually go and sub back in using the right bumper or R1 on PlayStation. You could sub back in your regular slot corner. So for those of you that play Madden Ultimate Team, if you have a dynamite nickel corner, somebody that's a 98, 97, 99 overall corner, and you want to play him at the nickel corner spot instead of a third safety, that is fine. It's just the package that matters. It basically unlocks different adjustments. Not for the nickel corner. That's really interesting. Not for the nickel corner. You can still put him into his curl flat. So you've got the 5-yard curl flat and the 25-yard cloud flat, but it changes the other 2 safeties. So there's this rule in Madden that's called the rule of 3 safeties. And when this happens, and the game thinks that there's 3 safeties on the field, it changes the safety adjustments from the standard assignments that we showed earlier. As you guys remember, it was deep half, inside third, hook curl, curl flat, blitz, quarterback spy, and inside quarter. Now these safeties get middle third, outside third left, deep half left, mid read zone, man coverage, outside third right, deep half right, and blitz. So if you go back to what we were struggling, it was that deep outside sideline because we were busy playing the deep half, which was responsible for 50% of the field. Now we could tell him to get closer to the sideline by flicking the right stick to the left, putting him into an outside third to the right, only 33% of the field. So now we've got a short sideline zone, a medium sideline zone, and a deep sideline zone. Now there is a ton of room in between this safety and the deep half on the backside, and this safety right here in the deep half, or the deep outside third on the front side of this formation. So you've got options. You could either rotate this safety into a middle third, or you could leave him in his deep half if you wish on the left. If you're worried about helping out on that backside receiver, you could play standard cover 2 on the backside. Or you could rotate a linebacker in nickel into the middle of the field, put him into a middle third to help take this away. So now what we have is basically a cover 3 Mable, kind of a cloud concept Mable to the wide side of the field. We've got a standard Tampa 2 to the backside with a vertical hook playing in the middle of the field. And then you've got this guy filling deep in between. Now, the real area of the field that's going to be in trouble is obviously the area between the deep zone that Roquan is in here and the outside third that Gibson is in. So basically that area of turf in between the thirds is where they can attack. That is where you're going to be responsible with your user. So as we go ahead and take a look here, if I were to run this exact same route combination, I would probably user the front side hook. And you're going to be taking a look at any type of seam that might be coming your way. So when we go to do this, you're going to be kind of looking right here. And you see that Roquan's got that, and that allows me to chill here on the backside. Now, late in the play, you notice that that backside crossing route is going to break over the middle. But I want you to pay attention to this player. Notice how in the deep half, he gets over into that spot on that deep, steep corner route that was open against the 25-yard zone on the first rep of the video. Now he's in a spot where you cannot throw this. He's not back here. He's actually out on the sideline. So this is a tough throw. You can't lead this pass lead up over this 25-yard zone anymore. It's in a spot where you actually can't throw this up pass lead. So you've got everything on the sideline covered here with this particular tip. And then of course you got this seam route. You just have to take away that inside pass lead right here and then pass it off to that deep help. And then you as a user can return back to the middle. Now, what's really great about this is now this sideline route is stopped on the sideline. And then this outside third realizes there's that post coming back and he peels back to help guard that crossing route back behind. So this is really a way to sideline proof your coverage against some of these rollout flooding concepts where they throw those corner routes over the top. Now, what about the spread stuff? So let's go ahead and go back into, let's say nickel 3-3-5 wide this time. We're going to do the exact same thing out of a Tampa 2. And go back to that spread combination that we just showed you. We know that there's no chuck rules now, right? So let's say that we're playing our Mable style coverage, right? So we got the 5-yard short zone, the 25-yard sideline zone, and then let me go ahead and replace Mac into a vertical hook. So now we're playing kind of that same style coverage. We take this guy and put him into the outside third to the right. Now let's see what happens when we try to just throw that bullet pass as soon as it passes behind the 25-yard zone. So free release, outside pass lead. And you see that it kind of got there. Now, the one thing I will say is that pay attention to the depth of your safeties. Certain formations, especially when you press, the safeties walk down a little bit further. So you see that, you know, in this formation, these safeties set at a depth of about 8 yards, which is not great. That's a little bit too close to get back on that angle. But if you take a look here in a nickel normal set, he lines up at about a depth of about 14 yards. So I wanted to show this to those of you that run the 3-3-5 because it's a very popular defense this year, to kind of be aware of that. You'll notice that this adjustment is going to be better the further back he is. If you start to get him down here, he's got no shot at getting back. But if you got him back here at standard depth, about 15 yards off the ball, this is going to allow you to effectively get to that throw. So now we'll go ahead and show you. And you see that if I go to throw that ball, now he's in a spot where he's going to be able to make that play. Also keep in mind that Tashawn Gibson is like 87 years old and doesn't really have the speed. Obviously, you guys in Ultimate Team are going to be getting to this throw far better with a rangier safety. I mean, you got to figure you're talking 97, 98 speed at this point in the year, especially in Ultimate Team. So this is going to be an interception. The other thing to consider too is the knockout meta. If you guys don't know anything about the knockout meta, it's broken down on Gridiron. That helps break on the ball even better. So this is going to be intercepted in Ultimate Team, obviously, or it'll also be intercepted in regs. You just got to make sure you have the fastest guy possible at this spot. I would prioritize speed on regs in this spot on the field. And obviously I would prioritize speed and the correct abilities as mentioned on Gridiron game plans if you guys are playing Ultimate Team. But you see how this throw is going to be so much more difficult to fit in than if it's in a deep half. You saw that it was basically an easy throw and catch. Here, let's see, he catches the ball and he gets, yeah, it looks like he maybe gets 2 feet in. Let's see, 1, I'm not sure on this. Yeah, 1 right there and then 2 coming down right there. But it's a very, very tight throw. Now, if I were to flip-flop Eddie Jackson out there on that, Eddie Jackson would definitely get there. But this is the way that you're going to be able to combat some of these sideline throws, play some Mable, and put yourself in a position to succeed. I mean, if I were you guys, I would run my coverage something like maybe this, where you've got this kind of cover 3 cloud with a Mable style coverage. And then, you know, depending on what you want to do on the backside sideline, you could play Quinn in either a 25-yard zone as we have set, or you could play him in the 5-yard zone because you have options to put him in either. This is the way that I think Madden, in terms of zone coverage, has to be played. This is, you know, going to be a way that you can really set up your underneath zones the way you want from nickel normal 3-3-5 or 3-3-5 wide, and then have the flexibility on the back end to adjust your safeties into some pretty unique coverage rotations, because outside thirds are not something you can afford by default. Now, let me compare that particular setup with the nickel formations to, say, like a big nickel over G. Because if you see, the over G has 3 safeties by default. It has a nickel safety in the slot, and then it's got the 2 regular safeties on the play. Let's compare that to what we just created out of 3-3-5 and nickel normal. So if I go back here, you see that our safeties up top have the same adjustments: middle third, outside third left, deep half left, mid read, man coverage, outside third right, deep half right, and blitz. And then obviously the same here. But this nickel spot, which is originally a slot CB or a slot cornerback in nickel normal 3-3-5 and 3-3-5 wide, this is a dedicated safety. So he gets the same exact adjustments: the middle third, outside third left and right, deep half left and right, mid read, and blitz, as well as the man assignment. So you don't get any of the underneath coverage assignments that you would typically want to Mable out of by doing it this way in the nickel over G. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the nickel over G doesn't follow the same exact rules as using a safety at nickel package in the regular nickel sets in the game. So I personally think that if you guys are playing this game and you're struggling with, you know, some of those gunslinger throws, those set feet lead throws down the sideline against your zone depths, as many of you do, and myself included, this is the way you get yourself out of that. That outside third adjustment that's afforded to you by simply switching the package can completely change the way you play your coverage. Now, that's not all, guys. Like I said, there's a ton of zone content that I haven't even touched here on the YouTube channel. Stuff, you know, zone adjustments, the exact zone adjustments I'm currently using to lock down all the popular offenses, whether it be Carolina bunch, trips tight end from Vegas offense. So many of the popular passing metas are shut down by this brand new zone profile that I've dropped on the website. I also talk about the knockout meta. We've been talking about it for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks on the website. There's so much information to digest. If you guys are struggling getting stops, I highly recommend you take a look at it. It's a very unique way to play defense in Madden. If you're tired of the one step ahead meta, this is the way to go, I can promise you. Guys, that is today's video. If you guys liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, drop those below as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll see you guys on Gridiron Game Plans. If not, we'll see you guys here with our next video upload. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.